Okay, here's how you select your picture for the quadruped project. This is honestly probably the most important step. Getting this right makes it real easy to do the next steps. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type in whatever animal we want: lion, line, drawing, side, view. So whatever you want, type that in and then line, drawing, side view. Press enter and then click in images. All right, we don't want, now what we're looking for here is we want a straight on side view. The two legs that are on our side need to be on the ground. We don't care about the legs on the other side because we're not going to model those. We're actually going to clone the ones on our side and mirror them to the other side. So these two legs here need to be on the ground. This is great, except it's a little bit low detail. I think this would be an excellent selection. You can see both of the legs on our side are touching the ground. The animal isn't turned looking towards us. It's a straight on side view. And that's what we want. Other good examples in this list, let's take a look here. So this would be a really good one to pick. Oh, another thing is we don't want a full color drawing because we have to draw on top of these, and we don't want something that's too abstract. This would be terrible. There's no details. There's nothing that we can model with that. All right, so there's nothing to work with. So this is a great example. We can see some muscle details and some shapes. Now this one's going to be a little harder because he's got a lot of mane there, and that's going to be a little bit harder to model. All right, so now that I've shown you kind of how to choose them, and remember, we don't want actual real pictures. That would be actually, even though it looks cool, would be very, very bad. Okay, so there we go. Where are we at? 2 minutes. All right. Let's go ahead and look through, and I'll show you some examples of other ones that I've already chosen. Here's an example of a pit bull that has a lot of muscle definition. Probably should feed this dog a little more, but has well-defined shapes. Both of these legs are on the ground, and the animal is looking straight forward, and we are a straight-on side view. Here's an American badger. Here's a panther that's a great example. A little bit low detail here, but we got enough to work with. We can see some shoulders, and we can see shapes for the muscles. Here's a great rabbit. Now look, we have a lot of colored in here, like a lot of little lines, but they're still well enough where when we draw our shapes on top of it, we're going to be able to see the shapes we make. We don't want anything too dark. Here's a gorilla that looks really good. Again, we don't care about these two legs on the opposite side. We only care about these legs here on our side from where we're looking. Here's an elk. Gotta warn you, making the horns can be a little bit complex. So that would be like a student who wants to take on something a little extra, and they get a little bit delicate when we 3D print them. The Komodo dragon. Now this one's a little bit dark, but I think it's well defined enough, and I think that will work okay. Here's an example of a horse. By the way, if you want to make a unicorn, all of the unicorn drawings I've seen suck. They're terrible for this. What I recommend doing is a unicorn is simply a horse that has a cone on its head. So you can draw your own cone later. Use a horse is what I recommend if you want to do a unicorn. But this horse is awesome. It's kind of dark, but I think it's light enough where we can draw our shapes on there, especially if we use a marker. Here's a cat. This cat's a little bit low on definition, but you can see there is some shapes that show the shoulders and the legs. Here's a saber-toothed tiger. Yeah, we'll put some cones here for these fangs. Again, both of these legs are on the ground. Here's a raccoon. Raccoons are kind of big and fluffy. It's hard to see the details, but I think there's enough for us to work with there. And here's a polar bear. Again, polar bears, it's hard to see definition because they're such big, chunky animals, right? They've been eating, they've been chowing. So, and you know, hey, they live in a very cold place. They gotta be bigger. So, again, both feet on the ground, animals looking straight ahead. It's not a real picture, and it's not extremely stylized. Let me go back, and now I'm going to show you. That's what you want. The rest of this video is showing you what you don't want. Hey, I don't like that pit bull. It doesn't look cool. I want this one. Okay, first of all, that's not really so much a pit bull. He's turned and looking at us. We can see both of his eyes. This is bad news. It's going to be very hard to model that. Here's another one. He's looking at us. Don't use that. Here's a side view, very stylized, but the thing's black, and his feet aren't on the ground. so don't use those. Here's my badger. This is way, way low detail. It's very stylized drawing. This will be a nightmare to try to do for a beginner especially. Terrible angle. We're looking at it from the top and the front. We can see both eyes. This is bad news. We want a straight on side view. Here's a panther. This would be the worst example you could choose. Although it is a side view and his head's looking straight ahead, there's no details. So when you try to draw the muscle structure to make each shape in Tinkercad, this is going to be a nightmare. Let's see, that's a good rabbit. Let's find a rabbit that's bad. Obviously, this doesn't even have a body on it. This is a cute rabbit, but it's terrible. Wrong angle. We're looking at it from the front, and there's no clearly defined muscle structures or shapes that we can model. Again, cute rabbit, but way too cartoony, way too stylized. This isn't bad, but you can kind of see we're looking at the front of his head, and we can see the kind of the front of his body. This is not good. Hey, good gorilla. Let's look at some bad ones. This one might work, but it's too dark. We have to draw our shapes over that. We won't be able to see our shapes. Way, way, way too stylized. Way too much detail has been removed from the animal. Don't use that. I don't even know what to say. This is exact opposite. We don't want anything like this. Front view. No, like, it's just like a few lines. Bad news. Let's find some bad elk. A lot of these are actually pretty decent. Okay, obviously it doesn't even have a body. No details. It's not terrible, but you can, again, you're seeing his head's turn and you can see that other eye. We want that straight on side view, makes it a lot easier. These Komodo dragons, there's a lot of examples of cool looking ones. We want both of his feet on the ground. These feet on this side on the ground. So this one is not a good example. Horse, stylized. Don't even think about something like this. Obviously, it doesn't have the full body. Pegasus, I don't recommend it. The wings would be very difficult. And this is not, it's going to be reared up. We want both of those feet touching the ground. All right. I think that probably gives you a good idea of what to choose and what not to choose. Thanks.